Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. If you hear your name, can you confirm your attendance, please? Councillor Douglas? Councillor Reid?
Here.
Councillor McMahon?
Here, Lynn, thanks.
Councillor McFadden? Councillor Cowan?
Here.
Councillor Linton?
I'm here.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, thanks, Lynn.
We have an apology this morning from Councillor Douglas. Councillor Ingram?
Here, thanks, Lynn.
Councillor Maitland? Here. Councillor Mabin?
Here, thanks, Lynn.
Councillor Filson?
Yeah.
Dr David Lewis? Reverend Harriet Johnston?
Here, thanks.
Babs Mowat? Yep, thanks, Babs. I can see you on screen. Hazel Malacotti?
Yes, thanks, Lynn.
And John Semple. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Officer Lynn. Okay. I'd like to welcome our new parent rep, first of all, John Semple. Welcome, John, to his first meeting of Cabinet. In accordance with agreed arrangements to select a parent rep, John was recently selected by the Parents Strategy Group following the resignation of Jackie Livingston. Welcome, John. Before we move to the formal business, I would like to acknowledge Jackie's time on the Cabinet. She was first appointed as substitute parent rep in Cabinet on the 24th of October 2012, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Following an agreement by Council to review the appointment process for the appointment of a parent rep and substitute, Jackie was a regular attender as substitute parent rep, and in October 2013, she was selected as a parent rep to serve on Cabinet. Since 2012, Jackie has contributed to many discussions. In fact, I don't think she's missed a Cabinet meeting. That's amazing. I don't think many can say that. With nearly, she's valuably contributed to discussion and decisions during her time. With nearly 13 years, Jackie is our longest serving parent rep, and I would like to take this time to thank Jackie for giving up so much of her time very generously to work in her Cabinet. Thank you very much, Jackie. I would now like to ask Councillor Cowan to take to the stage and present Jackie with a token of her appreciation. And Jackie, if you want to join us up at the podium. I have to go as well. Linda. Let me ask Elaine to say a couple of words.
This is what I like, just thrown in at the deep end, impromptu. I think, oh yeah, you can go back to your seat, Jackie, thank you. I think we're incredibly lucky in East Ayrshire about what a strong and committed parent council and parent forum that we have, and somebody like Jackie just amplifies that. And I'd like to echo the leaders' welcome to John, who's taken over from Jackie. It's an amazing job that they do representing their schools and doing the best for the children. Their commitment is unwavering, if any of these have been along to the parent councils. So our thanks again, Jackie. It's really, really appreciated. And your civic duty over 13 years, very impressive. Thank you so much.
Okay, and welcome again, John. Right, going to the meeting itself now, and first of all, we'll go through the normal declaration of interest. I don't think there's anything. Oh, there is, sorry. Drew and Graham. Graham first.
Thanks. Item 2E in the agenda. I'm going to withdraw. I've got a close family member who will be affected by the decision that's made here, so I'll just withdraw for that.
Thanks, Graham.
Just item 5, Chair. The SPF have received some feasibility funding from them as a director of the Melton Pass Development Trust, and I'm also the chair and the project lead for the KOTC, where the feasibility study was for. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Drew. We'll note that. Okay. Okay, we'll now go on to item 2A, which is a consultation report on the proposal to permanently relocate the senior phase of pupils S4 to S6 at Park School to accommodation within St Joseph's Academy from the beginning of the academic year 2025-26 in August 2025. Linda, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. As members will be aware, I think this is the third time we've been back to Cabinet with you in terms of updates on what I think has been a 2-year process. And I'm just going to thank and move on to Ian Burgoyne and Maureen McSeveny, who will present the paper. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Linda. Good morning, everybody. The purpose of the report is to inform Cabinet of the outcome of the public consultation exercise to permanently relocate senior phase pupils from Park School to St Joseph's Academy from August 2025. There are 2 recommendations for Cabinet to consider: that Cabinet agree to implement the proposal for permanent relocation and otherwise note the contents of the report. Just very briefly going through the report, paragraph 3 of the paper outlines background, and from paragraph 4 we go through the process of the consultation itself, which included 2 public meetings in November 2024. From paragraph 7, the public response to the consultation is reported. 180 responses were received from children and young people from both schools. The breakdown of responses from this group and from other stakeholders is shown in paragraph 8. The Education Scotland response to the consultation is outlined from paragraphs 9 to 15 and confirms their support for the proposal. The Education Service response to specific issues raised by HM inspectors is outlined at paragraph 16, with conclusions at paragraph 17 and 18 that the permanent relocation of the senior phase of Park School should proceed. There are 4 appendices to the paper, which include the consultation report and proposal documents. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Ian. Members, any questions or comments?
Just a quick question for me on point 16, administration. So there's a mention about the first aid support and the administration support. So is it just an update on that? Where are we with getting that in place?
Yes, we envisage that to be in place from August. I think it probably is in place, and with all these arrangements have been taking place during the school year, that will certainly be in place.
Linda.
Thanks, Leader. Apologies for my voice, but a comment and a wee question just for clarification, if that's okay, Linda. And the bit about staffing, they're talking about the staff working in one campus. I'm assuming the clarity will be that is what's going to happen moving forward. And the comment is, I've been asked to give feedback on behalf of 2 of my group, councillors June, Kyle and Sangster, who visited the campus earlier this year, and they were talking to some of the kids, and they just said the feedback that they've given me is that the kids were definitely more settled within this campus, and looking round about, they said they've never seen in a school kids looking so happy in a long time. So take that as a positive.
Thanks so much, Councillor Mabin, and the comments that are very kindly made. Yourself and colleagues around about the atmosphere on campus are 100% right. And I know there's been several members, the Chief Executive, yourself, Leader, that have all gone in and visited the campus and have seen that firsthand in terms of how well the young people have settled, but also the other piece has been access to the curriculum. So a much greater level of access to the curriculum and almost a senior phase stroke college feel for some of the young people from Park School in that particular space. So we're obviously delighted with how that's worked, but all the other piece has been the interlinkage between St Joseph's pupils with the park pupils and vice versa. It's been hugely positive in terms of the settling of the young people in that particular space. I'll just turn to Ian on the staffing query, if that's okay, Councillor Mabin.
Thanks, through you, Leader. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think to say it's been 2 years, it's been 2 years where there's a lot of learning taking place, and obviously the main thing has been to make sure that the young people are settled. So there have been kind of movements of staff across the campuses. I think we're now in a settled position. I think that's the, you know, it's quite clear that the senior phase, and certainly if we get agreement today, moving forward, that staff team are in St Joseph's, and you know there's still obviously like you know there's still obviously links to the rest of the part school staff, but that staff team are in St Joseph's and working out St Joseph's.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, both myself, as you say, Linda, and Councillor Cowan visited the campus, and it was really positive feedback we got from the pupils and the staff as well. It was really a nice place to be in, and it's great to see the young people adapt so well. It was really a good visit, and just wish them all the best for the future. Elaine.
I think it's an important point that Ian raises. I know it's been a long 2-year process for the officers, but it's helped with the whole settlement because we've learnt through that process, especially with initially the transport and missing out a wee bit of education time. So I think from your perspective, yeah, it's maybe been quite prolonged, but I think it's a good result in the end. So thank you for everybody that's been involved.
Thanks very much, Elaine. Anyone else? Okay, can we agree the recommendations? Okay, that concludes the learning items, education items for today. Just thank you, and just to say to John, there's no every cabinet of 13 minutes. It's usually longer than that, but and thanks again, Jackie. Thanks very much, Jackie. No, thanks again. Okay, on to item 3 now, and that's the East Ayrshire Housing Land Audit. And Pamela to introduce it. Yeah.
I think it's Alison.
Or Angela. It's Alison, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll take you through this one. The purpose of this report is to present to Cabinet for approval the most recent housing land audit. The housing land audit is an annual piece of work required by Scottish Government. It's an important tool for monitoring how well our housing land allocations included within the local development plan are being delivered. By its nature, it's a technical and complex piece of work, and I've tried through the report to streamline things as much as possible, focusing on the headline outcomes. As per the background set out in paragraphs 3 to 5, the most recent HLA was brought to Cabinet back in December 2023, and the one being brought today has a base rate of April 2023. So effectively what it does is it projects housing delivery over the next 5 years from April 2023 onwards. Importantly, as noted in paragraph 4 of the paper, this is the first HLA that takes on board the new housing land allocations within Local Development Plan 2. And as we know, LDP2 does allocate a generous supply of new housing sites of a range of sizes and spatial distribution. Turning to the key findings of the report, and I draw your attention to the following parts. Table 1 of the report shows the projections for each of our 3 sub-housing market areas. Just for clarity, the first line of that table is actual numbers, and the years after that are projections. The numbers in the table show the number of houses we project to be built in each housing market area for each of the audit years. A couple of caveats around the table. The audit only includes sites in excess of 4 units, so there will be additional small-scale developments built out in each of our sub-housing market areas. And also the HLA is in part a snapshot in time and includes to a high degree a level of judgment. In practice, sites could come forward quicker than anticipated, or conversely, they could take longer to be delivered. As members will see, the numbers get significantly higher as the reporting period goes on. As explained in paragraph 9, this reflects the large amount of housing land released through LDP2, recognising that it will take 2 or 3 years for this to move from planning through to delivery on site. So really we expect the latter years of the LDP period to see the greater delivery on site. Table 2 sets out the 5-year average for each of the sub-housing market areas. Again, the projections show that the Matler, the minimum all-tenure housing land requirement, will be met in each of the sub-market areas. Just going back to paragraph 8, National Planning Framework 4 sets out that the Matler for each local planning authority in Scotland. And a key role for the HLA is to demonstrate whether, as an authority, we're on track to deliver the amount of housing required. The East Ayrshire Matler is 4,050 units to be delivered over 10 years. And paragraph 8 confirms that if we take a 5-year average, housing delivery is on track to meet an average of 477 units, so exceeding the 405 units required. And this is a positive outcome of the HLA assessment work. It demonstrates that there's sufficient land allocated and that the projections indicate that house building will be delivered on these sites. Moving down to paragraphs 14, 16, and these describe the consultation that has taken place with Homes for Scotland. Whilst detailed discussion has taken place on a site-by-site basis, it is not proven possible to get agreement on all sites with Homes for Scotland. Generally, the body disputes some of the programming that we have provided. In the most part, this is due to Homes for Scotland requesting that programming of a number of sites be moved back further, particularly where there's not a planning consent in place. As officers, we've disagreed with this position. LDP2 sites are new and have recently been tested through the examination. Therefore, we think it's entirely legitimate to have confidence that many of these will come forward within the planned period, most likely towards the end of that period. In total, as at paragraph 15, around 12 sites have been disputed, but that is in the context of about 140 sites that are included within the HLA in its entirety. So a relatively small number that's disputed. Whilst it would be preferable and would give us some comfort to full agreement with Homes for Scotland, in this instance we're content that we can move forward with publication without that agreement. And dialogue with the body will continue on the next HLA that we'll be starting on very soon. And just another quick couple of points to note on the report. As per paragraph 17, we're really happy this time round to have the support of the Improvement Service, which is currently working on a spatial dashboard, which is how we're going to present the HLA information this year. I was hoping we might have had it ready for Cabinet, but I understand we're just a couple of days away from that there'll be a draft ready. The Improvement Service has all the data, we're just waiting on them doing the mapping work. And finally, just in terms of the wider value of the HLA work, as per paragraph 19, we've been working really closely with our colleagues in education to ensure that the HLA is fully embedded in the Learning Estate Management Plan that's due to come to Cabinet next month. The housing projections set out in the HLA form an important part of the methodology used to calculate our school rolls, which you'll see in the next month. So thereafter, just refer you back to the recommendations at paragraph 2, which are largely to note the projected programming for housing and therefore to publish the HLA online. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments on it.
Thanks, Alison. Just the point that you made at the end, about future, making education and other infrastructure planning proof. Just, in terms of Kilmarnock and Loudon, how's the market area? That's 3/4 plus the whole allocation. Do we do any refinement of that? Well, because anecdotally, it would appear that Alnwick and Kilmarnock North and West is absorbing the most of this, and I think we need to kind of have reassurance because we are looking, particularly in terms of our capital programme, at expansion in those areas. Do we have any information on that, where that's going in a more refined way? No.
I suppose what we're looking at now is the allocations that are in LDP2 that were approved last year in the adopted plan. LDP2 is just a 5-year plan, so already we're starting work on our new LDP3, which will again be assessing all the housing sites and looking at where we will be allocating new sites and where we will continue the sites. you know, Kilmarnock and Loudon is where most of our demand is. Certainly we've got even far higher demand than the housing sites we've allocated. But as you know, we've got new policies around infrastructure first and our developer contributions. So any applications that are coming on these sites, we're looking really closely at, particularly our school provision, to see whether the capacity is there. And if not, we've now got a developer contributions policy to address any infrastructure issues there. So we're in a much better position with that than we were with the previous LDP.
Thanks. I know in the past that's been an issue, and you made the point about smaller than was it 4 or 5 units, and that, particularly in the rural areas, and hence we've had as many extensions to Dunlop, etc. So I think we're just looking for that kind of reassurance. But maybe Richard as well.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I'm happy to provide members with further assurance. There's been quite a lot of recent work ongoing in this space with Linda, Pamela and other colleagues around the learning estate and aligning that with not only the work that's been ongoing in terms of LDP2 but forthcoming LDP3 as well. So that work will continue, and we'll be happy to bring update members as that progresses.
Thanks. Elaine.
Thank you, Leader. I'm very supportive of the recommendations in the report, and really encouraging to hear about the work that's going to come forward with this interactive dashboard with improvement service and the interactive map. I think planning sometimes gets seen as a barrier to things, and a lot of this stuff is quite technical and it's not freely available to public. So I think anything like that makes it visual and gets it out there, more transparency, I think will help some of the things that we want to do. Since joining the council this term, infrastructure first and the data for the education and learning estate, I'm not convinced we've got it right yet, and not all the things that we need to do for our communities is wholly in the gift of the council, but I think some of these methods and dashboards and visualisation will help bring other partners along that we maybe can get the best outcome for our community. So yeah, I think this is a really good paper, and I'm looking forward to seeing the outputs later this year.
Thanks. No, I think we're making considerable progress to where we're going, and as Richard says, doing some work there as well. But we're in a far better place to deliver services for the future. Anyone else? Graham, Linda, right.
Sorry. It's just a comment that just kind of confirms the good work that was done during the LDP2 process. So I'd like to thank the planning team for that. And your comment, Leader, about the build-ups in the South Authority, we're obviously doing some depopulation work, and I just wonder if we've got a wee update and how that's going to, any progress in that for the South Authority, and how it's going to tie in with the planning department.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks, Councillor Barton. Yeah, as you correctly say, through Ian Tuff's team, there's been quite a significant amount of work around depopulation in the south of the region, taking that forward. Ian and the team will lead in and feed into the discussions that we've been having with Pamela, Linda, etc., around that investment plan moving forward, aligning that with the strategic requirements in terms of LDP3, but also and critically, feeding into the estate management plan and the capital investment in that space as well. So yeah, really important strategic piece of work that will feed into the work that we'll do. And as I say, we'll come back and we'll make sure that members are updated in terms of how that's progressing.
Thanks, Richard. And I got a letter in this morning from the UK Parliament saying thanking us for our evidence that we gave. I think that was Pamela's team that gave that towards the end of last week. So it's good to hear that that's been discussed at in that chamber. Linda, then Claire.
Thanks, Leader. Alison, could I just refer you to paragraphs 15 and 16 where you're talking about the dispute with Homes for Scotland? Do you foresee that this would cause an issue longer term, and if so, would there be any action that the council would need to take? Do they have any sort of jurisdiction on it?
Not really. It's a funny one. Homes for Scotland obviously represent very strongly a lot of the house builders nationally, oddly, they don't represent a lot of the local house builders that are more prevalent in the south of East Ayrshire. So the bigger Persimmon, the bigger ones that are mainly in the north, they represent. And because we're at such an early stage of LDP2 having come in, we're in quite a strong position. We've still got a lot of sites. And that's why we're fairly relaxed, the fact that they're disputing some of them. The kind of, I suppose, the implication of there being disputed sites could be that if a housing site comes along that's not one of our LDP ones, that's say out with a settlement boundary, they would maybe be using these disputed sites as a way to say the sites that you've got aren't good enough, that's why we need a new site. So that's where it could be used as a wee bit of a tool. But I think because that becomes more of an issue as you get further into the plan period, that you're maybe in not such a strong position that the sites that we've got are good sites. Whereas at the moment, we're still in the early part of that plan period, and I don't think we would really have any issue with defending our position on that at the moment, because the sites are good, they've been through examination, and they've still got plenty of time to come forward. The dispute probably does become more problematic maybe in 3-4 years' time when we're getting towards the end of the plan. But we continue to work with them and have dialogue with them. We've got a fairly good relationship. So moving into the next HLA, again, we'll be at the table and going through the detail with them.
Claire.
Thank you, Chair. Just looking at paragraph 19 here, and when the Belfield interchange gets a mention, and if we could just find the funding for that, how it could lift the constraints on housing. But also the Belfield interchange, we'll bring it up again because it does need addressed in terms of safety and of business development as well. But also to echo what Councillor Cowan said about the Members' Officers Working Group last week when we had the dashboard material shown to us. It was absolutely excellent. We've already had more responses, I believe, in the first incidents than we had in the whole of the last consultation for LDB2. So the year of digital is here. Thank you.
No, thanks, Claire. No, that's an absolutely important point about the Belfield interchange. I've written to the Transport Minister about a month ago. I've still not had a reply, but I've put a reminder out yesterday, including the fact that we've had yet another fatality in the 76, which is absolutely tragic. And I've written a reminder just about from my original letter. So hopefully we'll have some input from Transport Scotland and the Minister. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, can we go to the recommendations on page 56? Can we agree? Okay, and on to item 4 now, and that's LDP2, outcome of the consultation on the Stewart and Conservation Area appraisal. Alison again.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and go through this one fairly briefly. The purpose of this report is to advise on the outcome of the consultation on the Stewart and Conservation Area appraisal. As per paragraph 5 of the report, the 12th of February Cabinet approved the publication of the draft appraisal for consultation, and also approved that a further report would be brought to Cabinet advising on the outcome of the consultation. The appraisal is a piece of work that assesses the characteristics and qualities of the conservation area. As per paragraph 8, the appraisal was consulted on from the 21st of February to the 4th of April. Consultation involved letter drops to over 200 properties. We also did a lot of social media. We used the Stay Connected platform, and our consultee database has been used to promote the consultation. We had a dedicated online portal set up with information on the implications of conservation status, and had an in-person drop-in event on the 6th of May. We also this week had a meeting set up with the local elected members in ANIC just to make sure that they know what's involved and what the implications are. So we had a total of 30 formal responses received, which were supplemented by feedback from visitors to the in-person drop-in. Appendix 2 to this report is a detailed report of the outcome of the consultation. And we were generally pretty happy with the response. And again, this comes back to the point that Councillor Maitland made there about the online platforms that we've now got. As per paragraph 16, the more recent similar work of this type was in Mauchline, back in, I think it was 2018, where we didn't have the online platform, and really we struggled to get any feedback at all on the conservation area appraisal. The most significant element of the appraisal is the recommendation that the conservation area be extended to include a larger extent of Stewarton town centre, essentially incorporating the town centre stretch of Laneshaw Street and High Street. And this is shown in detail in the map in Appendix 1, with the hard line showing the existing conservation area boundary and extended out to the extended area. As per paragraph 17 to 20 of the report, some concerns were received on the implications of the boundary change for property owners and the overall value the designation would bring. However, in general, there was substantial support for the proposal, with only 18% of feedback considered negative. For clarity, the key purpose of extending the boundary is to protect the unique historic character of the centre of the town and ensure that any new development can enhance rather than detract from the quality of the built environment. The proposal to extend the conservation area has been contained in 2 previous local development plans. The current very limited extent of the conservation area in Stewarton has long sat as a bit of an anomaly when compared to most of our other conservation areas. As set out in the next steps in paragraphs 21 to 25, there's a formal process that requires to be undertaken to confirm the extension of the area. And then I just refer you back to the recommendations of the report at paragraph 2, which are to recommend to approve the conservation area appraisal as non-statutory planning guidance and to agree that the boundary of the conservation area be extended. And I will pass back for any questions or comments.
Thanks, Alison. Graham?
Just a quick question, the shop front design display, obviously with the extension of the conservation area, it would bring more businesses into that. Would there be any retrospective action in terms of shop front display, or would it be only if a business was renewing a shop front display?
It's really only for things that are coming forward from this point on, and we actually had quite a few queries from property owners about that at the drop-in session that we had, and it was more people were concerned about taking kind of retrospective action on, say, new windows and extensions and things that they'd previously done. So no, it would really just be anything going forward. Any more would require planning consent, and it means we would be able to be I suppose, firmer and clearer on the design of anything that comes forward, and also anything that came forward without having planning consent, we would have options around enforcement action if it did need it because of the conservation area designation.
Thanks. Elaine?
Thanks, Chair. Just building on that comment, I know we've had financial support funds in the past when we've had conservation areas, and also things like the shopfront improvement programme. I'm just wondering, are there any current opportunities that could be channelled to this area, or can we perhaps look about for new funding streams that perhaps would be coming online that could help with some of the concerns of the property owners that's been described in the paper?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think David's want to come in.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Excuse me. While we don't at this moment in time have any update on the place-based investment fund, we do know it's been confirmed by Scottish Government that we will receive funding. So the likes of projects like shopfront schemes will be considered as part of that process. So and that's right across the whole of East Ayrshire. So we'll consider that as we move forward. Thanks.
Just a question. I know a number of people recently have come up to me, not just in Stewarton, but particularly in Kilmarnock recently with some of they were still issued them with some design guides. So, you know, I think there's some of them quite, some of the shopfront designs pretty more appropriate in Blackpool or something like that, or Vegas, I don't know, but it's something I think we need to kind of maybe advise, put people a wee bit more about it. It's just not fitting with the area at all. Alison?
Yes, we do have design guidance, and it's something that we've actually been looking at over the last week, because we're aware, particularly in the conservation area in Kilmarnock, that there's a few issues at the moment around signage and things. So there's things being looked at about possible enforcement action, but also on the other side, doing a bit of comms around this is the guidance that we've got, this is the legislation that's there for conservation areas, and just highlighting that for people. So I think we're going to try and do something with our comms team, a kind of wider, and this is what the guidance, this is what you should be doing, because it's an issue in many of our conservation areas, I would say. Just to pick up slightly as well the point that Councillor Cowan made about any funding streams. You'll know that we've had really successful CARS schemes in the past, where we've got Mauchline ongoing at the moment. We've had Cumnock, Galston and Kilmarnock as well. We're not aware that HES is doing another round of funding on that at the moment, but likelihood is in the future things like that will come round again. And that is part of the driver for the Stewarton one, that because the scale of the conservation area is so limited at the moment, it's never really been at the table or considered for any of these kind of projects, whereas if something like that does come up in the future, if the conservation area is expanded, there would be much more potential to look at Stewarton for these kind of funding programmes.
So, Elaine.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that explanation, Nelson. That's really helpful to know. So obviously we can be cognizant of that, and if there is anything goes on, we can target it to this area. That's really helpful. I just want to quickly go back to your comment about the design standards. I do agree with everything that you said. There are some commercial units that I think would fail every single design standard that we have, but there's also some really good examples as well. So some of the buzzwork properties, how they look after the exterior of their building and make the place more pleasant for our residents. So yeah, I think maybe we need to look at enforcement, but we should also maybe be encouraging people to follow other best practice and good examples that we have in our town and praise those businesses a bit more, and hopefully we'll get that ripple effect when others follow suit. Thank you.
No, I totally agree. Some great examples of good practice, and I was in Galston the other day, and I noticed some of the signage there was really, really good in terms of the conservation area. But no, you're absolutely right there, Elaine. Anybody else want to comment? Drew?
It's a wee thing just to remember that the Domellington was earmarked for a CARS scheme at one time. Things didn't go too well at the time, so it was going to stopped, and it went to Mauchline, I think. So just to keep Alison in mind that Domellington will be quite interested in that CARS scheme if it does come back round again. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Well, maybe one of these folk get up to see the Ospreys recently. Right. Certainly would encourage that, Drew. I would agree totally. Okay, anyone else? Okay, can we agree the recommendations? Go to the final item, which is the UK Government Shared Prosperity Fund, and over to David.
Thanks, Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide Cabinet with an update on the progress with the Council's Shared Prosperity Fund investment plan, which provided funding for a range of eligible projects and programmes between 22 and 23 right up to 24-25. The report also provides details of the Council's allocation for Shared Prosperity Fund for the forthcoming or this current year. The report sets out a full range of projects and programmes which were delivered during this period. These projects have had a significant impact in terms of upskilling our workforce, creating jobs and enhancing infrastructure, all of which align to the aims of our regional economic strategy. The report also highlights the in-year review led by the Chief Financial Officer, which identified a potential number of amendments to the programme, including the selection of alternative projects. This helped to ensure that the Council's allocation from the UK Government was maximised for the benefit of our communities and businesses. Moving forward, the UK Government has confirmed that the Shared Prosperity Fund programme will continue for this financial year, with a reduction of overall allocation of 40% and the cessation of the separate funding for Multiply. Our local allocation within East Ayrshire has been reduced by a similar quantity in specific areas of communities in place, supporting local businesses and people in skills. Paragraphs 3 through to 7 sets out the background to Shared Prosperity Fund and the Council's award of £6.1 million, the initial funding allocation. And this 3-year programme prioritise a number of areas, with 75% of the council's allocation going towards people and skills and multiply, which reflected the original funding, which was through the European funds for ESF. Paragraphs 8 through to 35 sets out the achievement of the delivery of the funding allocation, which is highlighted in paragraph 10, with a full summary of the progress, setting the outputs and outcomes achieved for the individual projects in Appendix 1. In terms of highlights, paragraph 12 confirms investment into employability hubs, and paragraph 16 outlines investment within the Galston Town Hall and Library project. As part of the alternative review of revenue funds, £173,000 supported the campus co-ops. In terms of supporting businesses under the communities theme, paragraph 13 sets out the community wealth building grant of £84,000, which supported 54 enterprises which received funding last financial year, and a further 244 enterprises received non-financial support. Under the supporting businesses theme, £879,000 has been allocated over the 3-year period, with £688,000 allocated for specialist advice and support funding to complement the council's existing expert business advice and support programmes. As a result of the support, 201 new jobs were created over the lifetime of the programme, and 503 enterprises were supported. We also supported the Be Ready programme with £191,000, which provides businesses with the advice and tools they need to grow through workshops, one-to-one support and consultancy. The programmes resulted in 139 enterprises receiving grants and 215 businesses receiving financial support other than grants. Paragraphs 22 through to 29 sets out the delivery of the investment in the people and skills team, totalling £3.5 million over the 3-year period. This funding, as I mentioned, replaced the European Social Fund and supported the Economic Development Employability team delivering the programme using the 5-stage model from stages 1 engagement through to stage 5 and work support. And this assisted 529 clients to gain employment, and a further 208 people were assisted in gaining qualifications or completed a course. 131 people managed to sustain their employment for at least 6 months, as per the requirements for us to feed back to UK Government. Clients assessing this support were also able to assess the offer of funded accredited training and in recruitment incentive grants. Paragraphs 26 through to 27 sets out the investment within the third sector employability support via the programme, which resulted in £402,000 and was linked in through the local employability partnership trusted partner framework for last financial year. And this programme supports clients with stages within stages 1 to 3 of the employability pipeline, aged 25 and over. On completion, clients were referred to the stage 4 of the pipeline, which then allowed them to gain access to further support from the employability team. 89 economically inactive people engaged with the programme with support to access basic employability skills provided by key workers. 176 people reported increased employability via the development of the interpersonal skills, and 131 gained qualification licences and skills. In terms of the Sustainable Employability Programme, this was used to fund the recruitment incentive grants, and the programme was a standalone which aligned with the Jobs and Training Fund and resulted in £390,000 being awarded to that, which supported recruitment and training of modern apprentices and interns. And this resulted in 57 young people receiving support to gain employment in last financial year, and 47 managed to sustain employment beyond the 6 months. Paragraphs 30 through 35 sets out the work undertaken through the accredited SQA programme through Money MOT, and that targeted 701 adults supported during the programme period. And this was, as I mentioned earlier on, this is no longer supported through SPF. However, Vibrant Communities are taking this programme as part of their workflow into this financial year. The programme supported 168 people to engage in job searching and financial support through that period. So in terms of paragraphs 36 onwards, that sets out the arrangements for this financial year. And you'll note that there's an overall reduction 40% in the grant funding. This has resulted in less amount of revenue than we had in the previous financial years. We have a capital allocation of £567,000 and £1.4 million in revenue. Paragraph 41 rather sets out the allocation, and as you can see from that, there's £367,000 for communities in place, supporting local businesses £200,000, £1.4 million for people and skills, and that takes us up to a total £2 million. I would highlight that money allocation will then, in terms of capital, is earmarked for the completion of the works at Galston Town Hall for the capital for the £367,000. There'll be £200,000 being allocated to businesses to support capital capex grants, for growth grants for businesses, which you'll see in paragraph 43 is looking at a 50% support to up to a maximum of £15,000. And the remainder of the funds are allocated towards the jobs and training and employability programme that will see the programme be supported and aligned with the No One Left Behind funding. Chair, that takes us right through the overall allocation for delivery from the last 3 financial years and into this financial year, and the implications are set out from paragraph 40 onwards. I think that's me summarised the report, so I'm happy to answer any questions, and the recommendations are set out in paragraph 2. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Just maybe a wee comment for me first. I think it's been absolutely remarkable what you've done, achieved despite the reduction that we've had with, the structural investment funds from Europe's no longer. We've had to put a lot of investment in ourselves in terms of jobs and training, apprenticeships, internships, etc., which has been a priority to all members here. And it's good to see progress in Galston Town Hall, and I'm surprised in Drew's absence. I'll welcome the investment into the Kirk of the Covenant in Dunwellington is also to be welcomed in the skills and training that we're offering as well. But got to comment that politically we're still paying the price of Brexit, in my opinion, and this is just another example. Okay, Claire.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, David. I think this is an absolutely incredible paper. It's dense in terms of facts and stats here, and just to pull out a couple, because I don't think we get the credit for what the team and what the council do and how we've had to replace the EU money, etc. As you said, in terms of job training and apprenticeships, but also 201 new jobs, 503 enterprises have been helped. It goes on and on. In fact, also paragraph 41, and the computer immediately goes into software patches installed. Paragraph 41 just shows the excellent distribution as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. I want to focus in on paragraph 17, which is the campus COPs. I know that budget line has already been under some financial strain. So now I'm hearing this fund there's a 40% reduction in income. And I know that's not what this paper about. This paper is about the programme, but perhaps if I could get some kind of future update where we are with the funding with the joint programme between ourselves and the police for the campus COPs and the schools, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. David?
I'm going to have to bow over to my colleagues in finance, if that's okay for that, if you can assist with that one for future.
Yes, through you, Leader, that's an ongoing discussion that we're having with my finance colleagues just now. In that particular regard, clearly the funding streams are evident from the paper presented in terms of last year's funding, and clearly the members here, we took the campus officers not as a potential saving, but as a potential look at a different budget line to support what we do believe is really good work in the schools alongside the campus officers. So I am working with both the Chief Executive and the Chief Financial Officer in that space to look at how that might be possible in some way. So we do have eyes on. I'm not sure if Joe wants to add anything to that through yourself, Leader.
Thanks, Linda. Joe.
And just very quickly through your chair, that's members will recall that in February, as part of the expenditure reduction measures, this was placed before you. It was an option to either use external funding or alternative funding, or reduce or remove the facility as it currently stands. As Linda said, that process of discussion and that transition is taking place, but we are mindful of the fact that, just as David has highlighted, 40% reduction in this fund. You'll recall that at Q1 last year, education projecting, and thankfully recovering, but projecting at an £8 million overspend. So it's looking at the totality of that budget and identifying where we can alternative sources, but recognising that if that's not able to be achieved, then where does campus police officers sit in terms of that wider education provision? And that's the discussions that Linda's having with myself, with the Chief Exec, and also with other colleagues too. But we'll come back with an update shortly.
Thanks, Joe. Elaine.
Yeah, if I can just quickly come back. I'm conscious it's a live issue, and I realise from the budget process earlier this year we were looking at alternative fundings. I think I'm just noting in this report that this is one potential revenue funding that the door has now closed. So I just wanted to highlight that, and if we can get kept in the loop as soon as we know where we are, because obviously I know we're only in May, but if there's going to be changes, I would imagine they would have to be in place for the new term in August. So I appreciate maybe some work will need to be accelerated over the summer period in this space. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll have an update for the new term.
Through you, Chair, as part of the end of year East Ayrshire Performance Report, which comes before you, I think, early next month, and certainly in preparation of the first report of this year's East Ayrshire Performance Report, updates on the options placed before you in February are generally given. So I would hope that wouldn't be that far away from giving you an update, and certainly a resolution or an update to yourselves needs to be made well before the school term begins in August.
That's really helpful. Okay, anyone else? Linda?
Thanks, Leader. David, can I get you to look at paragraph 24 about the 131 people that have managed to sustain employment for at least 6 months? What happens to them after that? Do they become permanent, or are they only long-term? I mean, I'm assuming we know we can keep a track of it.
I appreciate the comments, Councillor. It's what we have to do. It's a government situation where we respond back to identify who have went beyond that period. We have a data system that we actually manage those people. Some of those are in supported employment, so that supported employment will continue till they're at a stage where they can they don't require that, or in some cases they may always need it. So that is not, it's not a case after 6 months we forget about them. There is continued support there for those who need it.
If we're okay with that, can we, there's no other comments, can we agree the recommendations? Okay, thanks for that. And that concludes the business for today. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.